Good morning to all. I am Ms.R.RUBASHRI, Assistant Professor of Physics, A.D.M. College for Women, NAGAPATTINam. Let's see about my topic is satellite communication. A communication system is an artificial satellite that transmits the signal in transponder by creating a channel between the transmitter and the receiver at different each locations. Telephone, radio, television, internet and military applications used in the satellite communication. Space radio communication is any radio communication involving the uses of one or more space stations or the use of one or more reflecting satellites or other object in a space satellite link. A radio link between a transmitting earth station and a receiving earth station through one satellite. In satellite communication services, there are two categories in which satellite communication service can be classified. First one is one-way satellite communication and another one is two-way satellite communication. One-way satellite communication is defined as usually take place between either one or multiple earth stations through the help of a satellite. The communication takes place between the transmitter on the first earth satellite to the receiver, which is the second earth satellite. Satellites send television signal directly to homes, but they are also backbone of a cable and a network TV. These satellites send signals from a central station that generate programming to smaller stations that send the signal locally via cables or airwaves. The transmissions of the signal is unidirectional, some common one-way satellite communication. Position location service are provided by the radio and tracking is a part of the space operation services and internal services take place with the broadcasting station. Then second one is two-way satellite communication. In two-way satellite communication, the information is exchanged between any two earth stations. It can be said the point-to-point connectivity. The signal is transmitted from first earth station to the second earth station such that there are two uplinks and two downlinks between the earth station and the satellites. Unlike cables or satellites support two-way communication systems. The systems for distributing cable signal to subscribers resembles a tree with a trunk and branches. Technologically development have allowed portable or field television production including electronic news and gathering. Advantage of and disadvantage of satellite communication. First, advantage of satellite communication. Installments of circuit are easy. Second one, the elasticity of these circuits is excellent. With the help of the satellite communication, every corner of the earth can be covered. Then fourth one is the user fully controls the network. Second one, disadvantages of satellite communication. Initial expenditure is expensive. Second one, there are changes of blockage of frequencies. The last one is propagation and interference. Geostationary satellites. Let us, satellites is geostationary orbit, rotates which the earth directly above the equator, continuity in staying above the same spot, are often placed in the geostationary orbit so that earth-based satellite antennas do not have to rotate the track them but can be pointed permanently at the position in the sky where the satellites are located. Weather satellites are also placed in this orbit from real-time monitoring and data collections and navigation satellites to provide a known calibration point and enhance the GPS accuracy. Geostationary satellites are launched via an temporary orbit and placed in a slot above the particular point of the earth surface. The orbit requires some stations keeping to keep its position and modern retired satellites are placed in a higher graduate orbit to avoid collisions. A geostationary satellite maintains its position in space relative to the Earth rotation using thrusters and reaction wheels. The tools left the satellite make small adjustment to its position as needed to keep its orbit under the same speed as the Earth rotation and remains in the same position above the Earth equator. Advantage of the geostationary satellite. Among the advantage of using geostationary satellites are the following. First one, reliability, then variety of services and ease of usage. Reliability, the satellites are now from their predictable and performance. This is why many US telecom companies use them to provide backup capacity for their telephony service. Variety of services. There can be support voice, data and video based services for their decided region. Ease of users. The geostationary satellite can be accessed using a directional antennas which it is uses a small dish aimed at a spot in the sky where the satellites appears to hover. These earth-bound directional antenna can be aimed and then left in the position without further adjustment. Another one is minimum interference. The uses of highly directional antennas minimize interference from surface-based source and other satellites. Navigational capabilities. The satellite system can track objects on the ground with the great accuracy using global position system in GPS technology, making them ideal and navigational process. Next one is global imaging. The satellites provides real-time image from the space, making them useful for monitoring global climate patterns and other environmental changes. Then long life. Geostationary satellite systems have long lifespans compared with other typical of the orbital structures. They remain operational up to 15 years before needing to be replaced, whereas other orbitally equipment last 5 years or less. Then applications of the satellites. Weather forecasting, which uses absorption and to analyze the current state of the atmosphere, is one of the most common satellite applications. Another one is several satellites gives photographs of the Earth using infrared or visible light. Weather forecasting is accomplished by equipping satellite with unique instrument and sophisticated cameras that monitoring numerous climate elements such as air pressure, temperature and humidity, other amounts. Weather satellites are spacecraft that are used to forecast the weather. Broadcasting services include direct to consumer radio and television as well as mobile broadcasting. The global position system is GPS is the first and most frequently used satellite navigation system for civilians. Mineral mining and atmosphere and weather broadcasting. Television, telephone, direct relay and radio broadcasting. Satellite provide access to hundreds of TV and radio programming. Atmosphere and weather broadcasting is remote sensing and global positioning system, GPS. Despite the fact that it was initially primarily utilized for the military purposes, the GPS is today well known as and accessible to the general public. All of our navigation system, global maps and other simplifier, similar and services allow for the perfect global localization. And with some extra techniques, the precision can reach a few meters. GPS is used by almost all planes and ships and supplement to the traditional navigation system. Many automobiles and vehicle comes equipped with the GPS receiver. The system is also utilized from truck, fleet management and vehicle tracking in the event of the theft. Operation Search and Rescue. Military satellites. The uses of satellite for is one of the oldest application of satellites. The first military satellite were photographic and missions, some except where it is made up of developed to satellite-based weapons, but which work was halted in 1967 following the international treaties banning and de-employed of the weapons of the mass destruction in orbit. Then orbital patterns. What is the orbital patterns is created? Earth orbital the sun and an average distance of 149 in 60 million kilometers in the counterclockwise directions as viewed from above the northern hemisphere. One complete orbit takes 365 days, during which a time each has travels 940 million kilometers in orbit of the planet are nearly circular. The eccentricity are all less than 0.1 except from Mercury and Pluto. The rotation of the planet are also directed counterclockwise except for Venus, which is slowly regrade, and Uranus, which is almost rolling around its orbit. Electrons arrange themselves in cloud lines regions around the nucleus called orbital. This image is called orbital plane. Orbital elements are the parameters which are helpful for describing the orbital motions of the satellite. Following are the orbital elements: semi-maximum major axis, eccentricity, mean anomaly, argument of perigee, inclination, right assertion of ascending node. The above 6 orbital elements define the orbit of the Earth satellites. Therefore, it is easy to discriminate one satellite from other satellite based on the value of orbital elements. First one, semi-major axis. The length of the semi-major axis is denoted by A. Define the size of the satellite orbit. It is half of the major axis. This runs from the center through a focus of the edge of the ellipse. So it is the radius of an orbit at the orbit to most distance of the point. This one is the minor axis and major axis. This denoted to F1 and F2. Both semi-major axis and semi-minor axis are represented in above figure. Length of the semi-major axis is denoted A. Not only determine the size of satellite orbits but also the time period of evolution. The circular orbit is considered as a special case. Then the length of the semi-major axis will be equal to radius of that circular orbit. Next one, eccentricity. The value of eccentricity is denoted to letter E. Fixes the shape of the satellite's orbit. This parameter indicates the deviation of the orbit shape from a perfect circle. If the length of the semi-major axis and semi-minor axis of an elliptical orbit are A and B, then the mathematical expression from eccentricity E will be E is equal to A2 minus B2 root of A. The value of eccentricity of a circular orbit is 0 since both A and B are equal, where the value of eccentricity of an elliptical orbit lies between 0 and 1. The following figures show the various satellite orbits from different eccentricity is E is the value. Mean anomaly. For a satellite, the point which the closest from the Earth is known as the perigee. M is meaning of mean anomaly, gives the average value of the angular position of the satellite with a reference to perigee. If the orbit is circular, the mean anomaly gives the angular position of the satellite in the orbit, but if the orbit is elliptical, the calculation of the exact position is very difficult. At that time, mean anomaly is used as a intermediate step. Second, argument of the perigee. The satellite orbit cuts the equatorial plane at 2 points. First point is called a descending node, whereas the satellite passes from the northern hemisphere to southern hemisphere. Second point is called as ascending node, where the satellite passes from the southern hemisphere to northern hemisphere. Argument of the perigee is denoted by omega is the angle between ascending node and the perigee. If both perigee and ascending node are exiting at the same point, then the argument of the perigee will be 0 degrees. Argument of the perigee is measured in the orbital plane at the earth center in the direction of the satellite motion. It is called inclination. What is the inclination point? Perigee, satellite orbit, equatorial plane, inclination and the orbital plane. Base of the orbital plane is the inclination point. The angle between orbital plane and the earth equatorial plane is known as the inclination. It is measured as the ascending node with the direction being east to north. So, inclination defines the orientation of the orbit by considering the equator as reference. There are 4 types of orbits based on the angle of inclination: equatorial orbit, polar orbit, prograde orbit, retrograde orbit. Equatorial orbit is angle of inclination is either 0 degree or 180 degree. Polar orbit is angle of inclination is 90 degrees. Prograde orbit is angle of inclination lies between 0 and 90 degree. Retrograde orbit is the angle of inclination lies between 90 degree and 180 degree. Right ascension of ascending node. We know the ascending node is a point where the satellite crosses the equatorial plane while going from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. Right ascension of ascending node is the angle between line of the Aries and the ascending node towards east direction in equatorial plane. Aries is also as a vernal and equinus. Satellite ground track is the path on the surface of the earth which lies exactly below its orbit. The ground track of a satellite can take a number of different forms depending on the values of the orbital element. Orbital equation. In the section is let us discuss about the equation which are related to orbital motion. Forces acting on satellite. A satellite, when it is revolves around the sun, it undergoes the pulling force from a earth due to earth gravitational force. This force is known as a centripetal force, is denoted to F1, because this force tends to the satellite towards it. Mathematically, the centripetal force F1 acting on satellite due to Earth can be written as F1 is equal to Gm into R2, where G is the universal gravitational constant and it is equal to 6.673 into 10 power 11 kilometers. M is mass of the earth and it is equal to 5.98 into 1024 kilogram. M is the mass of the satellite and R is the distance from the satellite to center of the earth. A satellite, when it is revolves around the earth, it undergoes a pulling force from the sun and the moon due to their gravitational force. This force is known as a centrifugal force. Its denoted letter is F2, because this force tends to the satellites away from the earth. Mathematically, the centrifugal force F2 acting on satellite can be written as F2 is equal to mv into 2r, where v is the orbital velocity of satellite, orbital velocity of satellite is velocity under which the satellite revolves around the sun. Satellite does not deviate from its orbit and moves with a certain velocity in the orbit in both centripetal and centrifugal force are balanced to each other. So equate centripetal force is F1 and the centrifugal force is F2. Which is the equation is, therefore the orbital velocity of the satellite is Gm R2 is equal to mv into 2r is derived to the v is equal to Gm into r, where G is the gravitational constant and equal to the 6.673 kilograms, m is the mass and r is the distance. So the orbital velocity mainly depends on the distance from satellite Earth in the center denoted to r, since G and m are the constants. Then INSAT, abbreviation of Indian National Satellite Systems. The INSAT is the series of multi-purpose geostationary satellites launched by ISRO to satisfy telecommunication, broadcasting, meteorology and search and rescue operations. Commenced in the 1983, INSAT, the largest domestic communication system, is the region. It is the joint virtual of the Department of Space and the Department of Telecommunication, India Meteorological Department, All India Radio and the overall coordination and management of INSAT system. Reset the secretary level INSAT in coordination committee. INSAT satellites provides transponders in various band of several the television and communication needs of India. Some of the satellites also have the very high resolution radiometer CCD cameras for meteorological imaging. The satellites also incorporate transponders for receiving distress alert signals from search and rescue missions in the South Asian and Indian Ocean region. As ISRO is a member of a COPSA Stratas program. INSAT of the system is series of multi-purpose geostationary satellite launched by ISRO in satisfy the telecommunication, broadcasting, meteorology and search and rescue needs of the India. INSAT is the largest domestic communication in 1983 in the Asian Pacific region. Some of the INSAT also carry instrument from meteorological observation and data relay for providing meteorological services. Kalpana 1 is an exclusive meteorological satellite. The satellites are monitoring and controlled by master control facilities that exit the Hazan and Bhopal. Applications of INSAT satellites. Weather forecasting and meteorological is the first one. INSAT satellites are equipped with meteorological payloads in provide real-time weather data and support weather forecasting and monitoring. This information is crucial for predicting weather patterns, cyclones, nature disasters, aiding in disaster management and the others. Second, telecommunication services. INSAT enables wide range of telecommunication services including voice and video communication and data transmission and internet connectivity. Third one is direct to home DTH television broadcasting. INSAT facilitates direct to home television broadcasting, enabling viewers across the country to access a wide variety of television channels with the high quality reception. Fourth one is educational services. The INSAT system supports educational services including tele-educational and e-learning by disseminating educational content to schools and institutions in remote areas. Fifth one is search and rescue operation. The satellite are equipped with transponders for search and rescue operation, helping in the locating and assisting ships and aircraft in distress. Sixth one is disaster management. In aid of the disaster management by providing real-time information on natural disaster like cyclones, floods and earthquakes. Seventh one is agriculture and soil moisture monitoring. In satellite support the agriculture monitoring in soil moisture levels, crop health and agriculture activity, assisting farmers in making informed decision about irrigation and crop management. Eighth one is environmental monitoring. In aid of the monitoring environmental parameters in including forest covers, water bodies and pollution level, contributing to environmental conservation and management. Ninth one is telemedicine. They enable telemedicine services by providing connecting to remote healthcare center, allowing medical professionals to offer consultation and medical assistance to patient in the distance location. 10th one is business communication. The system supports various business communications such as video conferencing, data transfer and connecting for enterprises operating in remote areas. Features of INSAT. INSAT system is incorporated a huge range of features that have proved to be fruitful for the Indian communication system. It is observed that the uses of INSAT satellites series has changed the impact of natural disasters more significantly, as there is a previous information on the security of disaster. INSAT service as an important factor in many important entrants of the Indian economy. Telecommunication, meteorological and other advancement through the satellite, this system is enhanced more flexibility on information and the systems. INSAT has introduced a service of mobile satellite besides involving the service of VSAT service. Telemedicine internet is another feature of INSAT to enhance medicine and healthcare services to the needy and the people of remote locations. INSAT series of satellite has also launched EDSAT, that is slowly focused on the Indian educational system for making it more advantaged and efficient. Broadcasting of television is descriptions have become advantage with the uses of INSAT satellite series. Meteorological services are also benefited from the using radio meters of high resolution and the ECD cameras in aircraft. INSAT system is the truly change in landscape of television in India and has made it possible to everyone in enjoy the wonderful medium. The INSAT system was first launched in 1982 and since then it is undergone many changes. The most recent updated was the 2016 when the 11th satellite was launched. As of now, the INSAT system consists of 11 operational systems and satellites that spread across the geostationary orbit. Uses of INSAT system. It has been game changer. It is the field of television. It has brought about the resolution in way to look at the television, which is a wide coverage and a high quality. It has made television viewing pleasure and for millions of people across in India. The INSAT system is also used to meteorological applications. The Indian Meteorological Department uses INSAT data from weather forecasting and monitoring the natural disasters such as floods, cyclones and droughts. INSAT is also used to search and rescue operations. The National Remote Sensing Centers using the INSAT imaging to locate the missing persons and aircraft. Advantage of INSAT satellite. Improved television reception. The INSAT system improved television reception for user in rural area or where traditional signals are blocked by obstacles. Improved by telecommunication services. It is also improved telecommunication services for user in rural areas or traditional infrastructures in lacking. Then improved in meteorological information. It is the improved meteorological information for users worldwide. The network satellites relay data from weather station to ground station, which they distribute to this user. Synchronous satellites is GSAT, geosynchronous satellites. GSAT is used to digital data, audio and video broadcasting for both the civilian and military used. GSAT satellites has increased the fertility in telecommunication, VSAT, services in television and all other services in India. The GSAT, geosynchronous satellites is one. In India is developed to communication satellites used to digital audio, data and video broadcasting. 5 December 2018, 20 GSAT satellites of ISRO have been launched, out of which 14 satellites are in services. The G satellite services in geosynchronous satellite is the system of developed by ISRO, which an objective to make a Indian self-relevant in broadcasting services. To 10 G satellites is total in 168 transponder, out of which 95 transponders are leased out to the provide services to the broadcaster. C in the extended and provides the services to telecommunication, television, broadcasting, weather forecasting and disaster warning and search rescue operations. Conclusion. It can be concluded the ISRO contributed huge benefits in the economical operation by introducing the in-satellite, series of satellite in space, education, television broadcasting, weather data management and telecommunication, and all become effective using the INSAT system in the space. Every satellite in the series has unique features and it is beneficially to increase us more knowledge using the satellite data. It is also observed the search and rescue activities after and disaster highly influent in the INSAT satellite series. It can be concluded that INSAT is highly important of the Indian peoples in life. Thank you.